I'm excited to be here in the Netherlands. I've never been to Europe, so this is my first time, so I'm really excited. It's beautiful, by the way. Carmen, she messaged me. We actually met at NGConf last year, and it was a lot of fun. And she chatted me up one day. She's like, Aaron, I need you to come and talk at this conference we're doing. I need you to sweat the entire time that you're talking. That was the only thing she told me I had to do, so. So I'm gonna try my hardest. I guarantee you I'll be able to do it. So yeah, she asked me to come and talk about the Angular community. So that's what we're gonna talk about today, is just kind of about us as community members and about the Angular community as a whole. But I wanted to kind of get into, to start, I've been here for about 25 hours now. I got off of the plane at about 8 a.m. yesterday morning. And I've learned a little bit of Dutch since I got off. Learned a couple words. So the first word that I learned even before I got here was stroopwafel, right? And everyone's like, hey, you got to eat a stroopwafel. I've had a stroopwafel. I didn't live born in a cave. People, we know what they are. Like, no, but you have to have a fresh one, right? So anyway, I learned how to say there's no fresh stroopwafels anywhere. We got on our bikes yesterday and we drove around for 3 hours. And it was actually longer than that, and we went every direction. We found a bunch of locals and we're like, hey, where's the fresh stroopwafels? And they'd send us somewhere. They'd write it on a map and we'd go there and there's herring. There's no stroopwafels. So we'd go to the next place and we did this all day. And it was awesome. But then along the way, I learned a new word. I learned how to say bicycle accident because I actually got in a bicycle accident and I hit a moving vehicle, which was crazy. And afterwards I was like, dude, that could have put Carmen in a bad spot. She would have had to find a new Keynote within 24 hours. So anyway, luckily we got a little lucky there. But, 1 second, can this get bigger? Okay. Okay. So for me, I started as a developer, I started in QA. I started testing. And at first I started doing point and click testing and spreadsheets and checking the list. And then I eventually moved into more automation testing. And then a few years later, I went into QA. So this is me, my family. I've got 4 kids. Does anyone else have a crazy amount of kids too? So for anyone who doesn't have a crazy amount of kids, Dave's got 5 kids. That's crazy. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'll give it to you in a way that you'll understand. The 4th kid, the 3rd one was pretty easy. The 4th one's kind of like inheriting a really old code project with it's a stale code base. If you put 3 or 4 years of effort into this code base, it might be manageable again, but at first it's pretty crazy. Anyway, that's like having the 4th kid. It's kind of crazy. Hopefully in a few years it'll be okay. So I work at Domo. Just kind of a little bit about what we do at Domo. We have a legacy backbone stack. We use Angular. We have Lodash. We do a lot with D3. We're a huge single-page app, 150,000 lines of code. And if anyone is interested, you can go to our site and check it out. We'd love to have you on our team. So I'm also one of the organizers of NGConf, which is kind of a huge pleasure that I get every year to, this is our 2nd year to host the Angular team, and hopefully we see a lot of you guys there. Is anyone going? We've got a couple? Okay. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's next month. Anyway, I'm also on JavaScript Jabber and Angular in our podcast. Any listeners? Yeah. Couple? Okay, good, awesome. And so let's just get started. I want to talk about kind of where JavaScript's at. And just how huge it is. It's insane, right? It's in the browser, and every day the browsers get faster. And it's in native now. You can do Firefox OS, Node WebKit, Chrome apps, PhoneGap. It's in our servers, IOJS, and Node. It's in our databases, running Postgres. You can actually write your stored procs in JavaScript now. MongoDB. They've got things like Tessel, which is hardware now. It's like an Arduino that you program in JavaScript. Right? So it's literally everywhere. It's kind of taken over. And when you look at like a Stack Overflow or a GitHub, this graph kind of shows like the bottom, as it gets further to the right, this is how many GitHub projects the language has. And as it goes up, this is how many like questions are asked on Stack Overflow. And so JavaScript is just at the tip top of that. Like it's got the most projects, it's got the most people asking for help and giving help out there. It's just really huge. And it's kind of cool to come into JavaScript right now and to be a part of the community right now because there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And honestly, when I look at it right now, because I'm coming in late, like I look at all the people who came ahead of us and like prepared the way, and it feels a lot like orbital clearing, and I kind of wanted to talk about that. So orbital clearing is this idea that when a solar system starts, you have this star in the middle that's spinning and creating gravity, and things start spinning, and they start hitting each other and eventually like forming bigger masses. And eventually they start like forming planetoid type things, right? And these planetoids start getting bigger, and they keep spinning in these circles, right? And the longer, even millions of years after they start spinning, eventually they clear all the rocks and all the other big planetoids out of their way so they can just keep going and like start getting more momentum. And eventually after it's cleared enough, like life can happen, right? And you can do a lot of really cool stuff like we're here today. And I feel like the JavaScript community for us, the people who came before me at least, they've really kind of gone through and cleared out a lot of the problems that we have as JavaScript developers. I'm not saying that we don't have any problems, but the path has been pretty cleared, and we're 15 years into JavaScript now and into the web being an app platform, and it is a lot of the stuff's been knocked out of the way, and we're still seeing progress. But every day, every problem that gets fixed, it's more like more problems cleared out of our orbit, out of the JavaScript orbit, and every time each smooth, each time we collide with something, like the path gets that much cleaner, and each upgrade to that path makes it so like tomorrow's going to be a better day than even today is, and it. Sorry, these slides like look wonky out. Do you guys care if I like hot swap my slides like mid-presentation? So I can see what you guys see. Okay. All right, thanks guys. Yeah. And hopefully we're some of the people that are like out there making the changes and getting the orbit clear for the next person. So another analogy I wanted to make to kind of how our community exists is it's based on a poem by Will Allen Dromgoole. And it was a poem I heard a couple years ago, and it instantly struck me kind of as like a nice parody into how I got into front-end development. So the poem goes like this. It says, an old man going a lone highway came at an evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fear for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a pilgrim near, you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again will pass this way. You've crossed the chasm deep and wide. Why build this bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said. There follow after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been not for me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him. So I'm going to go through what that poem talks about. So we have an old man, right, who's traveling. He crosses a river or something, like where there's water going through it. And at the end, he stops going where he was going, and he turns around and he builds a bridge for a kid that he saw earlier that day that needed to do the exact same thing he had just done. Who are the old men in our JavaScript community, right, for us? Like, who are the people going ahead on our path and making it so that we can be effective developers? Mishko, is he like the old man of Angular? Mishko, he's definitely one of them, but you've got guys like Yehuda, he's building Ember. We've got other people, and there's too many to mention, but like Ryan Dahl with Node, Brendan Ike, and then, he created the language, but all the members of the TC39 really, that are out there, every month working together and every day even talking about how to help push this forward. Guys like Jake Archibald, he's championing the new service workers spec, which in a few years will change the way we write apps. It's going to be exciting. And there's just too many really to mention, but we really have a lot of bridge builders, a lot of old men, and I hate to say men, but a lot of elderly people that who went before us and paved the way. It made it so that we had bridges to cross. And how many people just get there, solve a problem, and move on without solving it for the next guy? How many of those people do we remember? Less, right? Because they didn't really make a meaningful and lasting impression. They didn't give us a place where we could cross and use their inventions. So they build bridges for younger developers. I wanted to talk about what that could be for us. Less experience, less understanding. A lot of us didn't start in JavaScript. Who here did not start in JavaScript? So it's almost everybody. It's well over half. These bridges are for you. I couldn't have built Angular. I'm sure there are a couple people here who could have, but that was definitely a bridge I needed for me, because before Angular, I was doing stuff that I don't even like to talk to my kids about. So I think that, we all know we need a bridge builder. And I want you to take a second, because each of us, different paths. We all come from different walks of life. Think about the people who built your bridges, the bridges that you crossed. And what did it take to get you here, to be a developer? Whether you're an amazing one or you're a novice one or you're somewhere in the middle, what did it take to get you there? I wanted to talk, was it a teacher? Well, maybe it was a coworker or a family member. Maybe it was just some stranger in the community that you met at a user group, or a complete stranger, maybe someone on Stack Overflow or some online tutorial that showed you, that helped you cross some of those bridges. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the bridges that I crossed to be a developer, and some of the parts of the JavaScript community, the Angular community that really mattered to me, that are really important to me. So I went to community college, and I got done with my degree, and I knew some stuff. I knew a for loop, I knew an object, but if you're hey, well, just go put up a website, I'd be like, wait, what? That wasn't on the part of the test. I really didn't know how to do much. Besides, I had some ideas about data structures and some algorithms, and I could do some math. And other than that, I was pretty not ready for the world. So I went through QA, and I learned some stuff there. And, I didn't know how to write an app, but I did get some hands-on stuff testing, real-world applications. Locally, a company started doing these browser extension competitions. Has anyone built browser extensions? I love them. And it was really kind of liberating for me, because I didn't have to build the entire app. I could just build an extension that would just mess up part of that app, right? I didn't have to break and build the whole thing just to break it. I could build an extension that would break someone else's website, which was awesome. And it was fun to add a little bit of functionality to a site that was fully thriving and where all my friends existed, and I could just put a little bit more onto it. So browser extensions for me were the place that really got me onto the web, and they actually showed me JavaScript. Just incidentally, jQuery was the thing I needed to learn, because they were use jQuery. I was well, I don't know what that is, but let me try it out. And it was amazing, right? Everyone who's you wrote Java one day, and then you woke up the next day to jQuery. You're whoa, that was way easier. Why did I even learn that? For me, if I was going to do a school, I would start writing browser extensions, because they're apps that already exist, and I would make you like learn JavaScript to modify them and kind of get going. But that was kind of how I got in, like this browser extension thing. My mind literally was blown. Like I was like, I can have all the fantasy football stats like right here on top of the one page. Like, anyway, I know that's probably too nerdy for some of you, but I loved it. So then I started going to the local user groups, and I was like a total leech. Like I would show up, and guys like Dave would like teach something. I was like, Dave, come here, I need to talk to you for like 3 hours. And like I would make him teach me, like, what did you mean when you said this? And I would ask him to show me, and I really learned a lot there. People like started opening my mind to like the cloud. Someone like gave a talk about the cloud, and I was like, dude, what is the cloud? Where is it? Where's the cloud at? Because I don't, like, I need to get something on it, but I don't know what it is. And he's like, no, it's just a thing. It's like ethereal. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, they started opening my eyes to like what we do today. And like, you just deploy something to, somewhere, and it doesn't matter where it is. Like, I was really mad that I didn't know where it was. I was like, well, where is it? Like, I can't build it if I don't know where it's gonna be. And they're like, no, you can. Who cares where it is? Like, just put it out there. But these user groups really kind of started unlocking my mind, and it was really the Utah JavaScript user group that kind of started doing it for me. And there's hundreds of these around the globe. Next month, we're doing NGConf, and we're actually gonna do an extended session where people can view it remotely together. We have over 130 of those in 25 different countries. And we just did that with a couple tweets. Like you send a couple tweets and you got 130 events in over 25 different countries. The JavaScript community is amazing. Stack Overflow for me, because like during the day I could bug everyone I wanted to for help. But then when I'd go home at night, because I mean half of us are OCD, am I right? Okay, like half, and the other half are ADHD. So like in the middle of the night when I was building my thing, I was like, I needed like work all night long, but I didn't have my answers. So I'd end up going to bed at 10 because I was frustrated because my friends had all gone to bed and I couldn't ask them questions when I got stuck. So when someone showed me Stack Overflow, I was like, wait. So I get it. I ask a question. That part I get. But why do they answer it? Like, who's going to just sit there waiting for questions to appear and answer it? Like you sound crazy for even suggesting there's a site like that, I thought. But it's amazing, and we all take it for granted now. Like, we just go to Stack Overflow every day. We find questions. We ask questions. We get answers. That's, like, insane. Like, there's literally people out there right now, if we asked a question, we'd have 15 answers by the end of the conference. And for me, that was, like, a huge bridge to realize that you guys, and maybe it was some of you, like, are just there to answer some of the questions for me any single time I get stuck or have a thing, like a problem I can't get over. So Stack Overflow is definitely, like, one of the bridges that I crossed. It seems like evil genius work to create a community where you pay no one anything, but like everyone gives like really, really valuable information for free. The JavaScript community, it really has blown me away. Just the kindness, everyone here, it's nice to go around and meet people and like just be friends with them even though you've never met them. I don't know if it's because JavaScript is open source. Like I wonder if JavaScript actually compiled into code that wasn't readable, and you could close source your stuff. Like, I wonder if we would be as open and friendly as we are, but I feel like part of it has to do with just the open source nature of people willing to share what they build with people around them. But at the end of the day, we're all kind of crazy though, right? Like everyone, I'm gonna show this to you, and you're all gonna be like, I would have done that. So a programmer's wife tells him, buy a gallon of milk, and if there's eggs, get a dozen. So his wife sees that he brought home. When she sees it, she asks him angrily, why did you buy 13 gallons of milk? And the programmer says, there were eggs. Right? Like there were eggs, so I got a dozen more gallons of milk. And so the longer you're a programmer, unfortunately, like the more you think like your code, right? And like you start using in conversations, like if you're gonna email someone and they might email you back in a few days, you're like, no, dude, it's like an async conversation. And they're like, what? It's an email, right? Like, no, yeah, it's async. Is it an email? Or do I need to go like find out what async means? Like we start like working into conversations and people will say things like, all the time. You're like, it's not all the time. Like there's edge cases where it's not that, right? So we are just like a bunch of weirdos that help each other and share the code that's most likely broken. We share it with those around us. So building bridges, which hopefully we're all doing, it's really about building a community, and it's about fellowshipping and helping the next person, take those same steps that we all did. And the Angular team specifically is for me a great example of bridge builders. And you have guys there like Brad and Igor that when you talk to them, they just understand the concept of community so well that it's hard not to listen to them talk and like be inspired. And a few months ago, I got a chance to go to Google, and they had a GDE summit, which is where they invite all the Google developer experts. And we have like a 2-day event, and like the teams, so there's Google developer experts for Angular and for Dart and for Polymer and for Android and for cloud and for ads and for UX and stuff. Like there's a bunch of different kinds of GDEs. And so the Googlers that work on those products were supposed to come in and talk to us and like explain stuff to us, right? Well, the Angular team was like exemplary. They were there almost the entire time. Every time I turned around, Igor was there talking to someone. And you didn't see the Android guys there the whole time. You didn't see the Dart guys or the Chrome app guys. You didn't see anyone there really the whole time, but you saw the Angular team there the whole time. And they were having meetings with the Angular GDEs and talking to us about how they can get us more involved. And the Angular team is so good at understanding like what it takes to build a community. They actually recently sent out a communication guideline on what you need to do when you're communicating as like a bridge builder in the Angular community. And they say your words have great effect, so plan for what you want the effect to be. And the reason they talk a lot about like planning their words out is because they're like this little team, like the front row right here, that's like the Angular team. Like they're just like a small group of people. But right next to the Angular logo is this other logo, Google. And everyone goes, well, if Angular team said it, then Google said it, which is like totally different, right? Like 15 guys think it versus like the leader of like one of the leaders of modern technology thinks it are two different statements. So they have to be very careful about what they say because people treat it as if Google said it, which is very different. So your words have great effect, plan for what you want the effect to be. This is how they communicate. Rather than like knee-jerking and reacting when people talk to them, they're very chill. And if anyone wants to see their communication guidelines document, I put the link right there. But they say be helpful and useful. Be personal and responsible. Positive or constructive, because sometimes you can't be both. They say be open, honest, humble. Don't fake it. Don't start rumors. Be inclusive and empathetic. And when I first started talking to him, I was like, dude, that Yehuda Katz guy, I just can't deal with him. He's so mean to Angular. And I felt like personally offended when Yehuda Katz would like be mean to Angular. And they're like, dude, he's cool, man. Just let him sit over there and say what he wants to say. We're not going to react to it. Like we don't have to respond at all if we don't want to. But like if they say something that's true, we'll talk about it. But if they're just going to be themselves, then who cares? Like we're not going to respond. And so they're super adult, even like in the moment when they're really upset. And I can tell they're upset. Like Misko's the easiest one to tell when he's upset. Like he hides it the least well. But you can tell, but they're all super, super professional when they respond. And they've been a great example for me on how to like respond to people. And organized NGConf, just watching Igor, he loves you guys. Like he really, really does. Even though he can't see you, he really wishes he could. Like when at NGConf, we're like, dude, we could sell 15,000 tickets. But Igor's like, I only want 700 people there. We're like, why don't you want everyone there? They're like, because I can't meet everyone if it's 15,000 people. I can only meet everyone there if there's 700-ish, like more or less. So he doesn't want to go to a conference where there's 15,000 people and he only can meet like a fraction of people. He wants to meet everyone and give you all a chance to talk to him and express your concerns and give him positive feedback. So his dedication to this community it's unwavering, and his involvement with making sure events like this are awesome is awesome. So I wanted to ask, are we bridge builders? Like, Some of us are, right? My man back there waved his hand. He's a bridge builder. Good job. Are we bridge crossers? Like, we're all bridge crossers. We use Angular. We're all here for that. But are we more one or the other? What are we? How big are the bridges that we build? Because some of us have different sizes of bridges, and we're helping at different levels. They're all significant. They're all important. The size of the bridge, honestly, I'm saying size doesn't matter. Are we answering Stack Overflow questions? There's people here that OCD and have to answer that last question before they go to bed. You know that you've done it. The person who's here that's done it, you know who you are. I know there's other people out there. And that's a noble thing to do. Are you doing blog posts? Is that you? Are you doing conference presentations? Do you write the documentation? Is that your part of it? Like Jared Williams, he's a GDE for Chrome. You know what he does? He's never committed to source once. Jared Williams, he updates their documentation for all their meetings. They have a meeting, they talk about the new features, and he goes and writes the documentation. They made him a GDE because that is one of the most important things for them. It's a super noble thing. Do you organize conferences? Do you have an open source project? How many people own open source projects that have more than 10 stars? 50? 100? Oh, we lost a couple. 200? Oh, 500? Oh my gosh, good job. I'm proud of you guys. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of criticism involved in that, I bet. I bet it's tough. How does each of us leave our mark for the next person? I'm sure there's other ways I didn't mention, but no matter how it is, we're hopefully leaving a mark. We're building a bridge. Are we the youth that crosses the bridge, though? Because that's the other side to community. There's people saying, hey, follow me, it's this way. But as followers, are we good followers? Are we good bridge crossers? Are we thankful? It takes a lot sometimes to be thankful. What about even if you don't use the project? What if it's Yehuda Katz being mean to Angular, and I'm still thankful that he writes Ember? Because that makes Angular better, the fact that that's over there, and that the Angular guys have to compete with that. Are we thankful for even open source projects we don't use? Because that's part of being part of the JavaScript community. Do we complain or do we pitch in and help? A few months ago, whose battering auto-updated a few months ago? Everybody's. Who was super frustrated? Everybody. We were all super frustrated. So who did mean tweets? Who submitted a pull request? Mean tweets? No one raised their hand. No one's going to claim it. I know you're there. Did anyone else submit a pull request to try and help fix the solution? Anyone? A couple of us did. Yeah, I found the old version that worked, and I emailed it to everyone in my company. I was like, I know you're going to need this, so here it is. So rather than complaining, are we getting in and helping, or are we just going to be a complainer? So as part of being bridge builders, also think about the bridges you're crossing and how responsible are you at being a bridge crosser. So know your role in a community and fill it. If you're a bridge, fill it. If you're a bridge builder, build. If you're a bridge crosser, be grateful and learn from the people that came before you. Just don't be the bridge troll, right? Because under every bridge, there's a bridge troll, right? The bridge troll is the person not building bridges or not being thankful and not learning. Don't be the bridge troll. Be a bridge builder, be a bridge crosser, but don't be the troll. I wanted to talk about a great example for me of someone who has been a phenomenal bridge builder. Does anyone know who these guys are? Just off the picture. Shout it out if you know it. Come again? id Software. Yeah, good job. So this is the guys at id Software. This is at the very beginning. So this is John Carmack and John Romero. Okay? And there's a book written about these guys. And it's called Masters of Doom. These are guys that wrote Doom, by the way. They wrote Quake. And they wrote the engine that a bunch of other games was written on. But they're geniuses, okay? And that was them when they started. So to talk a little bit about who the Johns were, they both kind of escaped broken homes as youth. They weren't ever in love at home. That was never a thing that they were I really want to go home and see my mom. And they both found peace, though, and sanity in games and in code. They both ran into code at an age I wish I had ran into code. And they were both super mentally prepared for it when they got it. And just like due to a series of events, they ran into each other at the software company in Louisiana called SoftDisk. And these guys, after they met, like they would go on to build some really awesome games like Wolfenstein 3D, Quake, the Quakes, the Dooms, and more. Their engine would be used to do Half-Life, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, more. And like they were such a big deal that laws in most countries, like there was laws created because of them. Like they were like, dude, you can't show dead people in video games. And they're like, yeah, you can. Like they're not real people. It's a thing. But there was laws created because of these guys. And this is John. He's the engine builder. I think I got time. He created like new things in software. He created something called adaptive trial refresh. And some of these he didn't create. Some of them he just like popularized. He did things like ray casting, binary space partitioning, surface caching, Carmax reverse, which helped with shadowing, and like mega texture, which is on the most recent Quake stuff. But John really is like the bomb, right? We can all agree. Anyone who's like read about him, we know he's the bomb. He's currently at Oculus Rift. He's the CTO over there. So he's working on like the next series of games. So I wanted to show you what I'm talking about, copyright infringement. Like when id Software started, the night it started, they built this thing called Dangerous Dave in copyright infringement. So I'm gonna play this real quick, and hopefully the internet's gonna hold up for us. I don't think we need audio, but let's see if we can get it. No, we don't have audio. Yeah. What does this game look like? Super Mario? Yeah. So they totally like infringed on the Super Mario copyright. But the reason this was awesome was because you couldn't do this on a PC when they did it. People were like, hey, smooth sideways scrolling, not on a PC. Like you could do that on Nintendo though, but a PC's not capable of that stuff. So if you guys can see this, like he built the engine to do smooth sideways scrolling on a PC. And once the engine was done, they built this, what you guys just saw, in one night. They built this level 1 of Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers. And that was when id Software was created. The very next morning, they all started this journey that, we would all benefit from. Who here did that game? No one's going to claim it? Okay. You know who you are. Hold on. Stop doing what you're doing. There we go. So John, the engine builder, he was quoted as saying this one time, because he had like all those amazing things he invented and popularized. He was like, the idea that I can be presented with a problem, set out to logically solve it with tools at hand, and wind up being with a program that can't legally be used because someone else followed the same logical steps some years earlier and filed a patent for it is horrifying. So when id Software started getting bigger, their investors were like, you need to patent this thing you just wrote. And he's like, there will be no such patents. I will not patent like the only logical path to like success. Like that, he's like, I want the next person to be able to do it, and I want the next person to be able to do it, and I'm going to show them the way, but I want them all to be able to do it. And not only that, he then took his engine that, like they made games, and this engine that they used for their games was like their bread and butter, right? But then they're like, hey, who wants to rent this engine for their own game? And then people would sell games that competed with their own game, but they're like, we're just going to rent you the engine. Like they were super friendly in the community. So these guys, for me, like they're the epitome of bridge builders and helping people, like helping the game industry just explode to where it did. To me, John Carmack, he's besides an engine builder, he's definitely a bridge builder. So I wanted to throw some challenges out to everybody. It's easy to sit back and watch battering break or watch the pull requests pile up. But don't sit back. Actively and explicitly affect change. Don't watch. Get involved and leave your mark, okay? The Angular community itself, it's not just like inherently special. Angular, because we have this AngularJS file, that's not what makes this community a special thing. The community is what determines if it's special, okay? And that's us. Like this is, like us here, part of this conference, that's what this is defining if the Angular community is something that's special. So I want everyone to get serious about building bridges, okay? And finding the bridges and like proactively looking for something that you can build. And even if you're only sharing it inside your company internally, because you live in a world where you don't open source stuff, do that. Thanks, guys.